Welcome back to our podcast, Let's Talk About It, a podcast brought to you by the Lesniak Institute for American Leadership. We are a nonprofit located at Kane University's campus, and today we have two very special guests. My name is Felipe.
My name is Claudia.
And today we have two people from the House of Hearts Network. We have Jeremiah Laporte. He is an 18-year-old award-winning author, nonprofit founder, and communication strategist passionate about public service and youth empowerment. He made history in 2023 as one of the youngest Afro-Latino authors in New Jersey with his poetry collection, The Haze of Poetry. In addition to his writing, Jeremiah is the founder of the House of Hearts Network, a nonprofit focused on improving access to health, wellness, and education for young adults. He has worked across various levels of government, including the U.S. House of Reps and NJ State Departments. In 2023, he launched the Breaking Barriers Conference to support youth development. Jeremiah is currently pursuing a double major in criminal law and public administration at St. Peter's University and Seton Hall University. And we also have Adrian Ghainda. He is a Gen Z political organizer. He ran for county commissioner in Hudson County's 2nd District, earning 32% of the vote against a 25-year incumbent. I think I messed that word up. Now, Adrian serves as the deputy director for the House of Hearts Network to help empower youth involvement in politics and advocacy. Welcome to the both of you to our podcast. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So what got you both into the world of advocacy?
I'll let you go first. You've been in a little longer than me.
Yeah, sure. So I got into advocacy around the time that I was getting ready to graduate. So I graduated in 2020. So it was right smack dab in the beginning of the pandemic. And at that time, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I was studying political science. So I was dabbling a little bit in international relations, dabbling in local politics. And at that point, when I graduated, I got an internship with a city council person in Jersey City, where I'm from. And from there, I really got to work on the ground with everyday residents who call Jersey City home. So for me, I felt really comfortable being able to talk to people, getting them resources that they needed help with, and just being an ear for whatever issue that they had. So I spent the next 5 years after that just working in the grassroots movement, the nonprofit space, trying to make sure that anyone that has an issue or any kind of concern, that I could get them connected to wherever they can find resources at.
Who would you say really inspired you on your journey?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'd say for me, my biggest inspiration are my parents. They're two first generation immigrants who came from Guyana to a country they knew nothing about. And they really built a lives for themselves as well as myself and my brother. So for me, they were able to sacrifice their lives so that we could pursue whatever paths that we want. And that's how I ended up in the policy and advocacy space. So for me, this journey is an homage to them because they were the ones that inspired me to advocate for others, not just myself. So if it weren't for them, I wouldn't be in this space today.
Jay, what about you?
His story was very inspiring.
Yeah.
Well, for me, I got into advocacy in 2020. Most people actually don't know. I actually don't get asked a lot about my story. But I was sexually assaulted at gunpoint, and I was feeling like I didn't have resources at the time. You know, it was COVID, everyone was isolated. So most resources that are available now weren't as accessible then, which kind of drove me to launching the House of Hearts Network, to create that platform where young adults who might go through that or who might need resources in other areas have those resources accessible to them.
Yeah. Who would you say has inspired you a lot on your journey so far?
I would definitely say my mentor, Jerry Jacobs. He taught me how to use my voice and how to direct impact and create the change that I'm looking forward to.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like in everyone's journey, right, there's always like that one moment where you realize like you might have found what you want to do for the rest of your life. So what would you guys say is like that moment in your careers? I know you said your parents inspired you, but there's still action to be taken from that, right? There's still something that you have to put in. So what was that moment for you guys that really clicked that like, wow, this is where I want to go?
Yeah, so I'll take it first. So in the summer of 2021, when I was working in a city councilman's office, we were working on a campaign for affordable housing to make a higher mandate for building affordable housing in Jersey City. So a lot of my summer was me going door knocking all across Jersey City. So when people think of affordable housing, more times than not, they really think about the impoverished areas where the black and brown communities don't really get resources and the city kind of avoids going to those neighborhoods. And for me, I was all about, well, these people are people. I want to hear what their concerns are and see whatever we can do to make sure that they're reached out to and also given those resources. So, like I said, I spent that whole summer door knocking, talking to people, getting neighbors activated, and giving them a reason to believe in these types of movements. So for me, that was the moment where I saw myself really build this campaign from the ground up. And I thought to myself that if I could do that as a 22-year-old, I could honestly do anything that I set my mind on. And that was the same summer that I was in an international relations program for grad school, but I wasn't in love with the work that I was doing anymore. So I took a chance on myself, applied to a master's of public administration program at NYU, and ended up getting accepted. And for me, that was the validation that I was on that right trajectory, and taking the chance on my community as well as myself was really what got me motivated and inspired to keep going when in this field burnout is just inevitable. So yeah, to say that I'm still here 5 years later is a testament of how much I really believe in that journey.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I love that. Well, for me, mine was a little bit more recent. I had gotten an award from the Elizabeth Youth Theater Ensemble last year, and the person who introduced me actually had asked to introduce me because she attended the Breaking Barriers conference last year. And in her introduction, she had mentioned that it was truly impactful for her to see someone so young host the platform. And for her, it was a tangible thing, because 9 times out of 10, you usually have an older group hosting conferences, and you see them as like, oh, that's who I want to be someday down the line. But to you, it's like, that's so far down the line. And she had mentioned, she was like, seeing you do it so young really inspired me that I can do that as well. And that was kind of my moment where it was like, I don't know if the conference went well, but then I heard that and I was like, I actually got to hear how it impacted someone who attended. And for me, that was like, yeah, I'm on the right road.
Yeah, you're a super strong advocate for, students to use their voices and really uplift them. Why is that topic specifically so important to you? Why are you constantly pushing and fighting for it?
Yeah, I think in a lot of places, students don't have a seat at the table. And a lot of issues that come across can be solved simply by talking to students. Mm-hmm. Getting that in the ground experience and that knowledge can solve a lot of the issues we have today. And so as someone who didn't have the resources needed when I felt like I was at my lowest, I strive to make sure that every young individual has those resources and has an outlet to share the stories and the message they want to get out.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think breaking barriers, I know, is a big one. Is that just one of the steps that you take to help them, use their voices and put their voices into action? What other kind of steps do you take to really uplift them?
Yeah, I think the Breaking Barriers conference turned out to be a lot bigger than I expected. I didn't expect such willingness from most of the leaders who were in the room, but we actually got a lot of conversation. They were very interested in hearing what the young individuals in the room had to say. And I think that that's something that I would like to see go on as long as possible, creating this place where students and leaders can come together to have these conversations. And so the mission of the network and mission of most of what I do is creating a platform built to inspire change. So within everything I do, I like to keep that as the focus for it.
Solid.
Yeah, so I feel like the Breaking Barriers conference and what you guys were doing really aligns with the Lesniak Institute's mission, which is why we're so happy to help you guys in whatever way we can. But another thing that we really focus on is leadership development, and particularly in young adults and college students. So I'm curious to hear, what advice do you guys have to college students who might be entering their freshman year or are possibly already in their sophomore year, junior year, and what advice would you guys have for them? There are students who want to get involved in campus. What advice would you guys have for those students?
Yeah, I would love to take this first. My biggest thing is it's become sort of a stigma to when you're going to college that should be the only focus, and I really think that now students should become more empowered to take initiative while you're in college. I think that's the prime time to do it, to get experience. We're all pursuing degrees, but that might not essentially be the one thing you want to focus on. And taking that time while you're in college to reach out to different individuals to get that experience is a great way to start that off. And you shouldn't be scared or nervous to do that. I think most of the time people don't take opportunities because they're scared to reach out, because reaching out is such a far thing. I'm not going to get a response. They're too important. But 9 times out of 10, you'll get a response. And I think that's something that we should normalize, being able to reach out to our leaders and to organizations around us.
Yeah, no, definitely. We always say the degree is a big part of going to college, probably the most important, right? But those relationships and those extracurricular activities that you do is what land you your job that you want after college, right? Because the degree is nice to have, but nowadays employers want to see, well, what else did you do? I'd love to hear from you too, Adrian.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to echo the same sentiment that you're not just the degree that you're studying, it's also a prime opportunity to network with professors, networks with colleagues that are doing different disciplines, as well as others in your discipline. So a good story that I have is the last semester I did in 2020, it was right before the pandemic started. There was a national conference for Pi Sigma Alpha, which is the Political Science Honor Society. I wasn't a member for my campus's chapter yet, and I reached out to one of my professors, who's the chair for our campus program, and I said, I see that they have submissions for their national conference. I know I'm not a member, but I know that NJCU has never had anyone present at this conference. Would you be able to help us get a submission in? Because at the end of the day, the worst they could do is say, no, you can't submit an abstract. And that's what I did. I ended up reaching out to a close friend of mine at the time, and I asked her, would you be interested in co-authoring this paper with me? And it was something I was passionate about in doing in grad school, because at the time I was also weighing my options of what I wanted to do post-college. And we actually ended up getting our abstract submitted and accepted. So we got to participate at this conference. We got to present our original research. And at the conference, we found out that we were one of the only duos that actually were doing these papers and presentations because we wanted to do so, not because it was part of a grade requirement. And for me, that's kind of a testament on when you see these opportunities, you have to grab at it, because it's prime opportunity for you to put yourself out there to see what's ultimately out there for you to explore and see if it's something you're passionate about. And that's something I appreciate my professors looking out for us and being able to advocate for us so that we could go to this trip, because not many people get to say that a month before the pandemic, they got to present original research in DC and really explore what it is that they want to do in this space.
Wow, you guys have such great stories. I love it.
No, yeah, I definitely want to emphasize though, what you guys are basically saying is that no one is gonna hold your hand and give you a step-by-step guideline of what you have to do. You kind of have to put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Right? That's basically what you guys are trying to say.
100%.
I mean, going into the nonprofit world at 16 was crazy for me.
That is crazy.
You don't really, you don't know what forms you're supposed to sign. You don't know how you're supposed to build this. You're really taking a leap of faith in yourself, but also hoping that there's a support system that's willing to go into it with you. And it was a big thing to navigate, but I wouldn't take it back at all. I think what we've accomplished here was something really great.
Yeah. You also have to realize people want to help you. You just have to go out and do your part. Yeah. Great. Yeah, like I said, you guys should definitely start a podcast. I would definitely listen. I would 100% listen. Well, but talking about breaking barriers, I mean, I guess we could start by like going down the line. We could talk a little bit about what we enjoyed the most from the event.
Yeah.
I'll start. And we were talking a little bit about this off camera. I loved seeing the initiative from your team. Like Jay's team was all high school students, and they made this event where there was hundreds of people there, legislators, big players from the state, and they all showed up. And I just thought it was so powerful just seeing like you guys put in that work. And being high school students, I know when I was at that age, I was thinking of like not that. I was my head was somewhere
Yeah.
else. Like I was not even in that mindset. So like just seeing that was so awesome, and honestly it was inspirational.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I'll hop on that. I was like blown away, like super super impressed when Felipe started talking about this and was like, "Hey, we're gonna like, help these guys out. We're gonna help them put on this big event and everything." We started learning more about it. I was shocked to know that it was student led. Like the whole initiative was just created and like designed by students. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like I was also not doing that in high school. I was focused on my SATs, but you guys are focused on like really making a difference
Right.
in the community and other people's lives, which I think is like so cool.
Yeah, I'll take it away. So I think at that point I'd known Jay for almost 2 years. So when he reached out to me and was telling me, "Hey, this is what the game plan is," I told myself when I was in high school, totally didn't have that mindset either. But my big thing was whenever I see other like members of Gen Z like tackling such big initiatives, I gotta help in whatever avenue I can. So I like to make this like half joke that whenever Jay comes to you for something, you have to say yes. And that was one of the easiest yeses that I had to make because he's such a visionary in the way that most people wouldn't have something so fleshed out already. And he did. And all I really had to do was just be like, this makes sense. Or maybe if we take a different trajectory, we still could get to the end goal. And for me, that was just an awesome experience to be on that inner team to figure out, well, how do we make this a dream into a reality?
Well, for me, my favorite part was just seeing it actually play out. You always get, for me, it was the first time hosting such an event. And, you're always like, oh, is it going to actually go out? I was like looking at the registration every day. And so walking into the room the day of and seeing everything actually put together and the room filled up was a great experience for me.
Yeah, I remember right after you were so relieved. You were so happy that it had ended.
I think, I had like just sat on stage and I was like, wow, it's over.
Oh yeah. I'm just curious, how did you two meet?
So we actually participated in another nonprofit. It was actually my first time in nonprofit work. We worked with Voters of Tomorrow, which is a youth voter registration organization. And so I think we were actually in two different departments, but we just kind of like gravitated together. I was in policy and he was in recruitment and development. And every like initiative that we pushed out, we ended up clashing with each other. Like, this is what I want to do too. So we ended up kind of going forward together.
Okay, and now he's the deputy director for the House of Arts Network.
Yeah, and I mean, this guy saves me so many times. I'm like, Adrian, can you do this? And he's usually, yeah, I got it. Like,
Yeah.
it's already done.
Oh yeah, that's when I first met Adrian at the event, and when you spoke, it was I feel like I could relate to you because my parents too came to this country like as first like immigrants, and they kind of sacrificed everything for me too, so I like resonated with you there. So that's really awesome. Yeah. So going back to the conference, what is the goal behind the conference? What is like when people leave the conference, what do you want them to leave with?
Well, we want you. So the goal is to take out tools based off of what you think you need to succeed in life, personally and professionally. So the conference has 3 pillars: it's education, health and wellness, and youth leadership and civic engagement. And the goal is to equip young leaders with the tools they need to succeed both professionally and personally. We want you to know that not only do we believe in you, but we want you to see that there are leaders and supporters in the room who are willing to get behind you and to help you to craft your own game plan and to push yourself forward. And that was kind of the goal in crafting the conference. You saw that most panels were both current professional leaders, but they were also matched with students who had equal interest or had equal experience, just to have those conversations and get both perspectives and be able to say like, wow, I'm here right now, but I know that I can count on them to be somewhere else.
Yeah. I think something cool that you guys did also was putting students on every panel. Because not only is it awesome to hear their perspective, like you said, sometimes when you want to find the problem to something, ask the students. But it's also very important for their development, because once they're put into a panel or they have these big responsibilities, they at first, obviously for the event, they're gonna be a little jittery, they're gonna be nervous, but once they keep going, these like being on a panel and being the master of ceremonies or the mistress of ceremonies, that thing just comes second nature to them.
Yeah, and shout out to our mistress of ceremonies, Fernanda. She actually didn't know she was going to be the mistress of ceremonies until the night before. So we were actually here, and she's like, okay, what do I do? How do I do it? And I'm going to do it. And so she was here for like 4 hours, just running through it again and again and again. And most of the students who were on the panels, like you said, like they have the jitters, but they know like this is a responsibility that I'm ready to take on. And so like Claudia had to, like, she was in college, LSAT, SATs were like the focus. We were in our lunch, doing mocks of the panels, and it was a big task for them, yes, but they were ready to take on the challenge. And that's really my goal. I want everyone to be able to take on that challenge.
Yeah, I think that's also a big thing with Gen Z is, taking the action, like kind of, going beyond just social media, which we talk about all the time, slacktivism, just saying stuff online and being like, oh, like I'm being an activist about it, but you guys really went beyond that and really helped people take those steps in the conference. You put tons of students on these panels and showed them that, they can share their thoughts, beyond their Instagram stories, which I thought was like super cool.
Yeah. So getting into this year's conference, tell me everything you can tell me about it. I know it's still, we still have some surprises for our audience, but what can you guys let me know?
Yeah. So this year, the theme of the conference is channeling creativity through arts and athletics. So you can definitely expect a big athletic and arts, focus on this conference. We've been really playing with the designs. It's a little difficult to get both of them into one space, but so far we're really excited on how this is going to go. We've got some heavy hitter speakers, and of course we have our heavy hitter students ready to take on their roles.
Yeah. It's going to be at Kane University, right? Right here in the STEM building. And is registration open already for people who want to come?
Registration is open. You can find it on any of the hosting partners' Instagrams or social medias, websites. I know it's on the Lesniak Institute's Instagram, the House of Hearts Network. Our Instagram is houseofhearts.network, as well as the Latino Action Network Foundation. This year we actually have a new hosting partner. We're excited to have Union County commissioners participating and hosting the conference. So we're really excited on what we're going to be able to do this year.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah, that is really cool. What was the thought behind the theme this year?
So the theme of the conference this year was really a big thing for us. So we knew moving forward, we didn't want it to be the same thing every year because we have our pillars, right? So the theme is really to help us push the narrative of how we want to take those 3 pillars and shine the light. Because when you say education, right, and focusing on access to education, there's so many avenues you can go with that. And so the theme kind of helps us direct what we want to tackle throughout each of those pillars. And when it comes to arts and athletics, those are 2 of the largest resource outlets when it comes to students being outside of the classroom.
Oh yeah, I never thought about that. That's like super true.
Yes.
So usually you don't think of like athletics kind of going hand in hand with arts. A lot of people are kind of like, oh, it's one or the other. So it's like interesting that you combined them together.
Yeah. No, yeah, and when you think about like athletics, usually, those are like the main students who really see the effect of like school and like this other big commitment. So sometimes they're really the ones who need the resources that you are talking about, right? Which is I think is really important to emphasize. And we're so excited to help you guys out with this event. Thursday, May 1st. Registration is now open. Like Jay said, it's going to be everywhere. We're going to share it on our end as well. Do you guys have anything else you want to share before we say goodbye?
Yeah. So I like that you mentioned the resources, which is actually a direct follow up that we had after last year's conference. So the importance of the conference was, of course, really highlighting what the youth projects were that were going into it. And then coming out of it, we wanted to make sure that they had the resources that they need to pursue it further. So we put together a resource guide that really highlights all the 3 pillars that we focused on, whether it was the youth civic aspect of it all, the nonprofit aspect of it all, where they could find city, local, and state resources for all these different pillars, so that when it comes beyond this conference, they know that there are these avenues that they could pursue to get resources, whether it could look like grant funding or just any sort of advocacy like guide or any kind of like fellowship or anything like that, so that going forward it doesn't just end in the 8-hour block of the conference. They could still go beyond that. So that's something we're all proud to have worked together on and really promote alongside the conference.
Yeah, you guys are referring to the Youth Resource Index, right?
That's correct.
You can find it on our website.
Yep, I read through it, and that's basically a summary of the Breaking Barriers conference, right? Like the goal was to give these students the resources, and okay, we had the event, it was amazing, but now the Youth Resource Index was the result of the Breaking Barriers conference, basically.
So we went over the resources in the room, but we also, thanks to Claudia, Claudia was chasing people down. Can I interview for a second? Yeah. And with those interviews, we got to see what resources you thought you needed. And through the index, we were able to take all that information, gather it, and say, okay, here is actually something you can always go back and reflect on. What can I take from this that can help me take those tools that I got from the conference, or take the ideas that I have and actually turn it into reality?
I guess my last question then is, why should students attend the Breaking Barriers conference?
Yeah. Well, I think like if you're ready to take on initiative, if you think that you want to go further than what's generally laid out for you, then this is the perfect opportunity to equip yourself with resources, with connections. It's a perfect time for networking with leaders and future leaders, and prepare yourself for what's ahead.
And we can't forget that registration is free, and you also get a community service certificate too. So along with fulfilling your requirements for community service, you get to build your networking skills and really get opportunities to meet folks that you could build with for the future.
Yeah. I'm sure this is like an event we could add a Cougar Link, which is like Kane's way of letting students know about events happening on campus. Mm-hmm. And it's actually a requirement for Kane students to attend a civic event, like a civic engagement event or whatever. And I think this definitely classifies that. So maybe we could do that too, so we could have a lot of Kane students come.
Sounds great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. And this is for not just college students, but high school students as well. So it doesn't really matter like what age you are.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, if you're interested in coming to the conference, we're going to have all the information in the bio. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in following Jay or Adrian, their information will also be there. And yeah, stay tuned for what we have next, because we're really excited. So we'll see you guys at the conference. Bye.